Is Onyx expanding? Well, supposedly they might be when it comes to Goliath, its layer one blockchain, because they made a post quite recently saying how they're expanding the Goliath testnet again with more consensus validator nodes coming this weekend. Okay, sure, I think that's pretty cool. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, my kind of reaction to this is, again, I don't think it's the greatest thing of all time, but it's pretty cool because a lot of people thought that when it comes to Onyx, they forgot about their layer one blockchain for whatever reason, but it doesn't seem like that to me. Keep in mind, Goliath is still in the test net, right? So it's not even in the main net, and they're still already doing this. And keep in mind, they're looking to do the main net in the first quarter of this year. So we'll wait and see. There's no exact date yet, but we'll have to wait and see. That's the thing. But also, people like to say, who cares if Onyx is working towards, again, having updates or whatever, or like, let's say, expanding the test net. People like to say, okay, who cares about that? Well, again, why is that a bad thing? Keep in mind, even though XCN is around 52 times lower than 25 cents, kind of my reaction is Onyx working towards the Goliath mainnet is arguably, I think, probably going to become the biggest thing it's ever done so far at that point since the existence of the project. I really do believe that, because beyond that, what could I really say it really has done that's more significant than that, right? So if they're working towards arguably the mainnet of the biggest thing that they have probably ever done so far at that point in the history of its existence, and yet XCN is around 52 times lower than 25 cents, is that going to be a concern for me? The answer is no, because my mindset is, if a project to me feels like it's improving, yet the charts are kind of low, I mean, why would I complain about that, right? Isn't that what I kind of originally wanted to do anyways? It's like, for instance, would I be happier dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin at over 100 grand, or when it was like at below $10 or even below 1,000? Arguably, I would say below 1,000, right? Preferably even below $10. But of course, I can't go back in time. But I'm saying I'd rather do that than over 100 grand when it comes to Bitcoin. That's kind of my mindset. So why would it be any different here? A lot of my friends are saying, oh, take a look at Bitcoin. It's below 70 grand. Look at the pullback. And then suddenly they think it's amazing. Okay, sure. But they think that project is amazing, right? But for me, I like Onyx. So if I see it having a pullback, I treat it the same way as some of my friends out there who treat, Bitcoin having a pullback as a time for them to dollar cost average. I also view it that same way here. The same principle applies, in my opinion, for me at least. I'm not speaking on anyone's behalf, but this is just kind of my mindset. Like, if a lot of my friends are happy that Ethereum or Bitcoin's having a pullback, suddenly why is it unhappy when it comes to Onyx, right? I don't feel that way. Like, I don't feel unhappy. That's the way to take a look at it. Because I kind of view this as a project that I'm a fan of, right? So if something that I like had a pullback, then yeah, I would be happy to dollar cost average, because my kind of perception is, if I'm trying to buy an item at a store, arguably if there's a discount, I'd be happy, right? But for whatever reason, when it comes to this space, it's a little bit different, the general sentiment. But of course, I think the main factor is within this space, there's a way to kind of track, the depreciation in real time if there's a pullback. Whereas if I buy like a sofa from IKEA or something like that, there's no way for me to track that depreciation in real time. I mean, how, right? If I sit on it once, what happens to the depreciation? If there's a small like scratch or something, what's the depreciation there? It's sometimes very subjective. So there's just kind of no effective way for me to track that. So the depreciation sometimes doesn't feel as kind of significant, right? It doesn't feel as jarring or as intense. Whereas when it comes to the space, we can literally see it go down as it happens. But what's the key difference? The sofa, I'll never be able to get what I got for it back. The depreciation sometimes is locked in. It can only go down ever since I used it. But when it comes to the space, sure, things could go down, but sometimes we've seen them, in some cases, arguably, hypothetically, have a recovery. Historically, right? Of course, as of right now, a lot of projects are having a pullback, but I'm saying historically. Like, at one point, did we see Bitcoin at $1? Yeah, like a very long time ago. But as of right now, it's over 60 grand, despite the pullback. That's the thing. Sometimes there's a dip, but sometimes there's a hypothetical recovery. There's none of that when it comes to the sofa I got from IKEA. That's my mindset. But yeah, besides that point though, I am not telling anyone to do anything. But my mindset also is when it comes to Onyx, I still like it because it's a project that I don't think really loses out fundamentally when it comes to some of its competitors. Yeah, sure, Onyx isn't doing as much in terms of the diversity of the fundamentals when compared to like Zebic, when compared to XDC or Stellar, or even let alone something like Ripple, but at the same time, at least it's still top 5 within the global trade and finance space. And typically when a project is top 5 within its own niche, if that niche becomes popular for whatever reason during a hypothetical altcoin season, it's pretty difficult for a top 5 project within that niche to get forgotten about. This is just kind of my mindset. And the difference is as well, unlike some other market sectors out there, global trade and finance is a historically kind of market that we've seen become a big sentiment when the market does change, right? But historically, the difference is we just haven't really seen much alternatives beyond Ripple and Stellar really have their time to shine. We saw XDC do it to a certain extent, but never really mainstream attention, right? We haven't seen Onyx or Zebic, something like that, to really have that major attention. We haven't seen that. So what happens if there's a hypothetical altcoin season during this cycle? And let's say the narrative changed. Let's say the narrative for the global trade and finance space becomes alternatives beyond Ripple and Stellar, and it starts trickling down, maybe hypothetically from Ripple to Stellar to XDC to Zebic to something like Onyx. What happens then? Onyx was waiting there, right? It was waiting in the wings. It was waiting there hypothetically kind of the entire time when the market wasn't really doing the best at these kind of moments. That's the way you take a look at it. So when the wave comes maybe later, Onyx is right there. It's waiting right there. Will the wave come though? I mean, there's no way for me to tell. Who knows? But if it does, at least it's ready because it's waiting. But of course, that's contingent on the wave coming, right? But I'd rather be ready than not. That's the way to take a look at it. In case, hypothetically, it may never come, but who knows in case. So yeah, I'm still dollar cost averaging once a month. I don't have to, but I'm voluntarily doing that, right? And I still like Onyx fundamentally. So still, I haven't given up on the niche that Onyx is focused on. Still staying patient, and hypothetically, yeah, I'm still thinking about 25 cents, but we'll wait and see. Now again, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, we are around 52 times lower than that. But again, if a project that I'm a fan of is having a pullback, I'll be happier dollar cost averaging at arguably a lower level. Now, the thing about Onyx is this. I think sometimes people kind of ignore how something on its ecosystem is called Chain. And if we take a look at the origin of Onyx, right, historically, Chain rebranded to Onyx. But if we take a look at Chain kind of as an entity, basically, it fully upgraded to ISO 20022. Not to mention the Ethereum bridge on Goliath, at least so far that I saw, is powered by Chain. So isn't that pretty cool? People care about ISO 20022 when it comes to Ripple, when it comes to Stellar, when it comes to XDC. But when it comes to Chain, suddenly sometimes it's forgotten about. Well, I think it's probably because Onyx doesn't have that sort of mainstream popularity. But what happens if it does later? I think that might be cared about. So yeah, I'm just still waiting, still staying patient. I feel like the key components are there when it comes to Onyx in terms of the ingredients, right? The fundamentals and all this, the amount of holders, which is around 145,000, even as of right now. I take a look at, again, just kind of the aspects of the fundamentals. We just haven't seen a hypothetical altcoin season, but that just requires waiting, right? If it ever even were to come, but I mean, it just requires waiting for me. So the only thing I have to do is wait. I'll gladly wait. That's the way to take a look at it. I've been in Onyx for over a year. If I have to wait for another year, it's like, okay, whatever. What can I do about it? As long as I'm, able to wait, as long as I'm still staying patient, yeah, I don't see what's like the big deal about me waiting. There is no time limit, arguably. So yeah, I'll be waiting. That's it, even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything. However, it's been a pretty quick update, but I wanted to talk about this because, again, Onyx, if they talk about Goliath, arguably, their layer 1 blockchain, that could be, maybe, the biggest thing they've done so far in the history of its existence, and they're still working towards the mainnet, and yet I still see updates when it comes to the testnet. I'll talk about it, and I'll be sure to make more updated videos in general when it comes to Onyx. So again, thank you for watching. I hope you all have a very nice day. It's Malik the Captain, and hopefully y'all stay tuned for my future videos when it comes to Onyx, and hopefully I'll see y'all there. It's Malik the Captain. I'm out. Peace. Bye.